What is up, you off-topic motherfuckers? You got Kelci and Kylie this week back with another episode of the Off-Topic Podcast. Well, Kylie is going to take it over for this podcast. I'm just giving you guys my raw reaction, so it's going to be fun.
Alrighty. My first story is the town bully of Skidmore, Missouri.
Okay, it's
a true crime story of Ken Rex McElroy. He started off with stealing livestock and then escalated into violence. He was a raging alcoholic with 15 kids from multiple women, most being teenagers.
Jesus.
In 1971, he met his last wife, Trina, 12 years old, when Ken was in his late 30s.
You just say 12 years old?
Yes.
My Jesus, dude.
2 years after they met is when Trina got pregnant and had his son. He was very abusive to Trina. She even tried to escape by taking the baby to her parents, but he followed her to her parents' house and he shot their dog, burned down the house, and took Trina back.
My God. This dude's crazy.
Yeah. She told a doctor who called a local welfare agency. They placed Trina in foster care. Ken was facing multiple charges. Ken gained permission from Trina's parents to marry her to stop her from testifying against him after he threatened to burn down another one of their homes.
My Lord.
Ken had already been indicted on multiple charges like attempted murder, sexual assault, but no one in town would testify against him because they knew what type of revenge he was capable of.
Yeah, they knew that motherfucker was crazy.
Ken's lawyer later stated he defended him in at least 3 to 4 felony cases a year. A year.
A fucking year.
In 1980, one of his children was caught stealing a candy bar from a local grocery store. The owner, 70-year-old Bowenkamp, and his wife Lois didn't want bad blood with Ken, so she called the theft a misunderstanding.
Everybody was scared of this motherfucker.
Yeah. However, Ken being Ken refused to let the old couple slide. He went off on them. Ken first tried to pay Lois to fist fight his much younger, much stronger wife before he began intimidating him. Ken would park outside their home and shoot his gun in the air as a warning sign.
That's a red flag right there.
Yeah. In July of 1980, Bo was standing outside of the loading dock of the grocery store waiting for an AC repairman when Ken drove up and pulled out his shotgun and shot Bo in the neck. Luckily, Bo survived this, but this was the last straw for the town. Ken was soon convicted of the attack.
Well, when you shoot someone in the neck...
He was released on bail awaiting appeal, which shocked everyone. Within hours of being released, Ken was ready to take revenge on Bo and everyone who testified against him. The town was beyond pissed and band together as they tried to think of how they could get this guy in prison. Some think they were discussing how to keep witnesses safe, and others thought they were discussing how they were going to kill Ken. But whatever took place that night, when the meeting ended, everyone marched over to the local tavern, where they saw Ken and Trina getting into his truck. He had his gun and a 6-pack of beer, and out of nowhere, 2 shots rang into the air, and Ken was dead in his truck. Over 40 people witnessed the shooting.
Was it the bitch?
And every single one of them refused to confess who fired the shots. Nobody saw anything, nobody called the ambulance, and Ken bled to death. When police arrived, they recovered multiple shell casings and discovered that Ken had been shot by 2 separate people, one from behind the truck and one a half block in front of the truck.
Shoot.
Regardless of the witnesses and the fact that the murder took place in broad daylight, nobody was ever charged. This is a pretty controversial case given the kind of guy we are talking about here and what happened afterwards. So I'm very interested to hear your guys' take on this side of the story. Do you think he got what he deserved? That's fair? The people who shot him should have suffered their consequences. The wife was in on it. Also, his child bride fought till the day she died to find out who was responsible and make them pay for this. She was under like a form of Stockholm syndrome for being under his control from such a young and impressionable age, obviously.
Right.
So.
She was brainwashed as a motherfucker.
Exactly.
I think he got what he motherfucking deserved, first and foremost, but I'm also curious who the fuck did it.
Well, I'll have to find it, but I watched an interview of this guy who was saying, like, well, this is what I would have done if I was the one that did it, and he was actually there.
Oh.
So I think he did say that. He did do it.
I gotcha.
But yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely need to see that clip.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Up next is Jane Doe from St. Louis. February 28th of 1983. Two men had their van breakdown, and they ended up going into this abandoned building in like the basement to try to find a pipe to fix their van. This building being 5635 Clemens Ave, St. Louis, Missouri. It has since been demolished, but at the time was a red brick apartment building that had 24 units inside. When they entered the basement of this building, they found a 8 to 12-year-old African girl laying with no head, laying on her stomach. She was somewhere between 4 foot 10 inches to 5 foot 4 inches tall. She was wearing a yellow V-neck sweater that was covered in blood, with her hands tied behind her back, with a white and red nylon robe. She was only wearing a sweater, nothing else.
Wow.
Her fingernails painted with red nail polish. They were able to state almost immediately that she had not been killed where her body was found, and that she had been killed within 5 days of the discovery of her body. Her stomach was empty, and there was no other blood in the abandoned building. Not to mention her head was also not in the building.
Uh-oh.
This caused police to speculate that her body had been drained of blood before being brought to the building. They were able to get fingerprints, footprints, DNA from Jane Doe, which provides a lot more hope in identifying her later on.
Yeah, people with some crazy fetishes out there, boy.
Yeah. The autopsy found that this Jane Doe's head was cleanly cut off with a very large blade, most likely a carving knife.
A machete.
True. The autopsy also found that this little girl had been sexually assaulted before her death. After 10 months of really no leads that went anywhere, she was buried at Washington Park Cemetery. Police ended up trying to send the sweater that the girl was wearing when she was found to a psychic in Florida. And since the sweater has gone missing, they believe it went missing in the mail. So, yeah, I put police cover up question mark. Because why'd you send it to a psychic?
Right.
That's weird. So all of the evidence they have is that the pictures that the police took, which is really only 1 to 2. In 2013, the body was exhumed to see if they could get any more information about it, and isotope testing was done. This isotope testing stated this girl would have lived in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, Tennessee, North or South Carolina. However, another record...
It's a long stretch.
Yeah. Another record also states that it could have been any of these states: Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Indiana, and West Virginia.
Jesus.
So that narrows it down a little, but not a lot, because that's still quite a few states. And around June 29th, 2023, there was a Reddit post that went viral, and investigators believe that it could have been linked to this case. An individual by the name of Finding Janetta posted on Reddit stating she was looking for her older sister that had went missing around Valentine's Day in 1983. Her sister was just 9 years old at the time of her disappearance, and her sister's name was Janetta Brooks. This girl was supposedly last seen in Terre Haute, Indiana, which lines up with the isotope testing that was done on the Jane Doe's body. The missing girl was living with her father at the time. He was not the poster father. They had the same mother, but not the same father, and the poster stated that Janetta's father had ties to St. Louis. And the St. Louis Police Sergeant Charles Wall stated the level of detail that is contained with this post seems to be a whole lot of information that could potentially fit with the information that investigators already know. We have to hold out hope that there is somebody that knows something. The girl's mother had ended up going to jail, and they ended up living with their maternal grandmother, but at some point Janetta's father came and picked her up. Her mother got out of jail in 1986, and the father would never let her see or talk to Janetta again, which obviously raised questions on if the little girl was even around anymore, and this Reddit poster had not responded to comments at this time, but she does think this could help solve the 40-year-old cold case. Do we think maybe it could be that little girl, or maybe that's far-fetched?
I mean, this day and age, anything's possible.
Right.
So it honestly could. Like, there's no...
He could have trafficked his own daughter, sold her because he didn't want her.
Wouldn't put it against anybody. This world's fucking nuts. It could be, but it also could be something else. True. So... True. There's a lot of things missing. And a lot of things that I would like to look into.
Yeah.
Because if it could be, then why isn't anybody else saying anything?
This is the shirt she was wearing and the rope she was tied up with.
Oh my goodness. And I'll put that in the visuals. You just have to send it to me.
Yeah, I have the videos and everything. And then this is a picture of her hands tied behind her back.
Oh.
So sad. And this is her tombstone.
I hate this one.
So sad. And then I also have a picture of Ken.
Well, he a creepy looking motherfucker.
Yeah, the guy from the first story.
Yeah. We'll put that in there too, but he creepy as fuck. Yup. Mm-hmm.
And then here's the truck he was killed in.
Damn. That's
Can't crazy. Really tell because of the color.
Right, but
his windows shot out.
Yep. You can see that. That's crazy.
Yep. I guess this is kind of a better view where you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy.
Those are good stories today.
He doesn't deserve a big one.
No, he does not.
It has the audacity to just say beloved Ken.
Justice was served with that one, and was justice served on the second one. Was it yes or no?
Right.
Alrighty, up next is Crime Traveler, the Vanderhoff family murderers. The teenager discovered the body of her pregnant neighbor, 36-year-old Erin Vanderhoff. Vanderhoff was found bound by her hands and feet. The teen described Vanderhoff as being tied up with a green extension cord and saw a white piece of fabric, probably a scarf, tied around the victim's neck. The teen rushed next door to call the police. When police arrived at the residence, it was clear this was one of the most brutal killings in the history of Springfield. Police discovered 3 more bodies in the home, which were later identified as Vanderhoff's children, 2 of which were gagged. 8-year-old Darlene, 10-year-old Chris, and 11-year-old Jimmy. The bodies were found in different locations in the house. Some of the children were still in their pajamas with cords around their necks. Investigators didn't find a lot of visual trauma to the bodies other than marks around the necks due to strangulation. Police also discovered Vanderhoff was just days away from giving birth to her 4th child. It only took a few days before a suspect was arrested, 34-year-old Richard DeLong. DeLong was charged with 5 counts of murder for the death of Vanderhoff, her unborn children, and her 3 other children. It was later determined that DeLong was the father of the unborn child. Outrage soon swept through the community that DeLong would not only kill mother and her children, but kill his own child. Prosecutors said there was only one sentence that would suffice for this crime: the death penalty. DeLong's murder trial took place in 2001, and it was revealed DeLong had a meth addiction. When he killed Vanderhoff and her children, Dr. Nancy Horstein, a psychiatrist who testified at DeLong's sentencing, explained DeLong had a psychotic episode the morning of the murders. According to Horstein, DeLong was abused by his father, and due to the abuse, received head injuries. Horstein also said DeLong suffered from chronic depression, ADHD, and other mental disorders. However, the prosecution would argue DeLong's brain was completely normal on the day of the murders. As more and more details surfaced, it was discovered that Vanderhoff had sexual relations with DeLong while his girlfriend and mother of his child, Stacy Leffingwell, was out of town. The child DeLong and Leffingwell shared was named Scooby, according to the court documents. Vanderhoff drove from Springfield to Joplin to meet with DeLong on several occasions while Leffingwell was out of town. When Leffingwell found out about the affair, she decided the only course of action was revenge. Leffingwell, who was dying of AIDS, was afraid Vanderhoff would eventually replace her as Scooby's mother, because Vanderhoff's children, who would be witness to the event. The court's decision said DeLong and Leffingwell also intended to kill the children. They asked Harold Lingle if he wanted to participate. At first, Lingle was against the idea, but after being promised he would receive some methamphetamines, he agreed to help DeLong and Leffingwell. Ling was against having any part of killing the children, so instead, on Tuesday, January 19, 1999, he lured Vanderhoff away from the children. Lingle convinced Vanderhoff to leave the children and go to the grocery store to buy donuts. While Lingle and Vanderhoff were out of the house, DeLong and Leffingwell strangled the children. Once Lingle and Vanderhoff returned to the house, the three, DeLong, Lingle, and Vanderhoff, sat on the couch to watch TV, according to the court documents. DeLong told Vanderhoff the children had to be disciplined and were sent to their rooms. While Ling and Vanderhoff were on the couch, DeLong moved behind Vanderhoff on the pretext of putting a necklace on her. DeLong attempted to wrap a cord around Vanderhoff's neck, but she grabbed the cord, and DeLong and Vanderhoff fell onto the floor. Vanderhoff fought against DeLong until he was able to grab her, and that was when Leffingwell stuffed a rag in Vanderhoff's mouth so she couldn't scream. Court documents state DeLong and Leffingwell wrapped the cord around Vanderhoff's neck and tied it off. DeLong continued to hold Vanderhoff down as she struggled to breathe. After about 10 minutes, Vanderhoff passed out. DeLong and Leffingwell bound Vanderhoff's feet with another cord, pulled them tightly behind her back, and wrapped the end of this cord around her neck so the weight of her feet and legs would help suffocate her. It took another 10 minutes for Vanderhoff and her unborn child to die from asphyxiation. Leffingwell died in October of 1999 from complications of AIDS before she could even go to trial. Ling was convicted of 5 counts of murder. In 2002, prosecutors did not pursue the death penalty against him. Prosecutors did seek the death penalty for DeLong, but the Platte County jury decided to spare DeLong's life. He was sentenced to life in prison without a chance of parole. Wow, guys, that was a crazy story. Wow. I don't think any of the diagnosis that they gave him would make him just go and murder a bunch of kids and his unborn child. And that other girl, you're already dying. What do you need revenge for? So your kid can't have a fit mother because you're jealous? You're just gonna kill a bunch of other kids? That's crazy.
Ooh, this week was crazy. We had a few different clips we had to put together, a few different sessions. So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Off Topic Podcast. We will catch you guys next week. Bye.